Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Paris with Angela, the podcast for Paris lovers and trip planners. I think I forgot to say that on the last episode. The last episode was a how-to on the metro. So we covered the history of the metro. We covered a how-to of the metro. For that one, you're definitely going to want to read the show notes and get a little bit more detailed information. But I think you should have a firm understanding of how to use that wonderful system. But today, we're going to talk about the Paris Olympics because it's happening in just a few days. Pretty exciting. The Olympics will take place in Paris, France from July 26th to August 11th, 2024. The venues will utilize iconic landmarks and new venues like the Stade de France, the Eiffel Tower, the Champs-Élysées, new constructions like the Aquatics Center in Saint-Denis. Pretty exciting. But there are some people that are not too keen on the Paris Olympics, so we're going to look at both sides of that centime, if you will, both sides of the coin. If you want to sponsor the show and drink delicious biodynamic wine, biodynamic wines are becoming more and more popular in Paris, and so I think you should take a little bit of Paris home, have a little bit of Paris brought to your doorstep every month, and enjoy wine, which is such a beautiful part of the meal, but do it in a really healthy and environmentally friendly way by drinking dry farm wines. These are small family farms throughout France and beyond, and they are crafting using very traditional methods, beautiful wines that are organic and biodynamically made. You can visit dryfarmwines.com/Paris with Angela, and whether you decide to have some wines or bubbly delivered once a month, or you just want to try a one-time order, when you use the show's link, you're going to get an extra bottle for a penny. So that's super fun. If you order 12, you're going to get 13. If you order 3, you're going to get 4, and so on and so on. Now, Paris aims to deliver a sustainable Olympics. So biodynamic wine, sustainable. Paris wants to have a sustainable Olympics using existing infrastructure, temporary facilities, renewable energy. The focus, of course, is on reducing the carbon footprint and promoting environmental responsibility. They're also looking to attract a younger audience this time around with 4 new sports. Skateboarding, I think that's pretty cool. I'm a child of the 80s. I think that's pretty cool. Skateboarding, surfing, sport climbing, and breakdancing, maybe even cooler. So these new sports will reflect a contemporary urban culture and hopefully bring in some younger viewers and participants. The games will also, of course, feature traditional Olympic sports such as athletics, gymnastics, basketball, and more. All the equine events are taking place at Versailles, which I think is really fabulous. The tickets are being sold and have been sold in several phases, including a lottery system for high demand events. I have some French friends that weren't too happy about that. Prices are based on the event, the seating, and the stage of the competition. Paris 2024 includes, of course, accessibility for all, including, they say, affordable options and special provisions for those with disability. We talked about the metro, no doubt utilized by millions of people in the city in the coming weeks. Paris has an extensive public transportation system, the metro, the buses, the trams, the RER, as we say here in America. This is a show about Paris from an American perspective, always important to remember. And special Olympic routes have been made. Additional services will be available. The city is really wanting to accommodate everyone that they can. No doubt it's a very popular time for the city. So early booking at hotels and Airbnbs was recommended due to high demand. If you're watching on YouTube and you're headed to the Paris Olympics, I'd love to hear all about it in the comment box, or if you and your children are going to be watching online like we are in our house, tell me what you're most looking forward to. The athletes will stay outside of the city in places like Saint-Denis and the Île-de-France region. But no doubt the hotels inside the city are going to be jam-packed. Security, no doubt, will be at an all-time high with security measures in place. Police presence, surveillance, depending on how you feel about that. The coordination with international security agencies, of course, is happening to create a safe environment, God willing, for all. The Paris Olympics will feature a series of cultural events, expositions, and festivals showcasing the French culture and the French heritage. I do hope we get to see some of that on TV. That's what I am most looking forward to. These events will take place across the city, really enhancing the Olympic experience. I was just there a few months ago, and you can see really everything that they're doing to get ready. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a big deal, and I'm sure everyone will breathe a collective sigh of relief when it's over. So if you're visiting during this time, book ahead, get your tickets early. We're coming right up on it, so I'm assuming you have everything in order. Use public transportation when you can to avoid traffic congestion. Traffic in Paris can be pretty gnarly as it is. And if you visited the city before and visited places, monuments, for example, like the Eiffel Tower, you know about security checks, but be prepared for security checks at all of the venues. If you're brand new, if you're headed there next week, do a little crash course. I'm glad you're listening to the show. That's step one, but do a little crash course on familiarizing yourself with French customs and basic phrases, the way things are done over there. A little bit of that will go a long way as you respect local traditions and, of course, any environmentally sustainability efforts that they've put in place for the games. Now, of course, being that Parisians are involved, there's going to be a lot of opinions. So some of the opinions on the Olympics coming to town are favorable and some of them not so much. I've had some fantastic conversations. I love asking my Uber drivers what they think about the whole thing. Of course, many Parisians feel a sense of pride about hosting the Olympics, seeing it as an opportunity to showcase their beautiful city to the world. The event is expected to bring, of course, international attention and even more tourism. Of course, with that comes economic benefits. The cultural and social benefits means that Parisian culture and art and heritage will be featured on the world's main stage. And people, no doubt, are looking forward to the cultural events and the different festivals that will coincide with the Olympics. There's always something happening in Paris, always. So no matter when you're going, it's really nice to just do a Google search of things happening in Paris next week, and you can find different exhibitions and festivals, and some of them, no doubt, will coordinate with the games. The Olympics are driving significant investments into the infrastructure, including transportation, new sports facilities, urban development, and these are expected to benefit Parisians long after the games are over. I've seen some things in place, and I was driving by, I wonder if that's going to stay. There's going to be an economic impact. So there's concern and criticism there. The cost of hosting the Olympics, some fear the financial burden might fall on the taxpayers, and they're worried about the potential costs overrunning whatever benefits there might be. And naturally, the disruption to everyday life. So there's going to be, significant disruption. How couldn't there be? Traffic, congestion, changes to public transportation, additional security measures, which always, while they're for everyone's safety, they take extra time, they cause extra hassle, and these, no doubt, will affect daily life and businesses. And there's concern about the impact on housing. Paris is a very, very expensive place to live. And so there's a concern about potential rent increases, the displacement of residents due to the development of Olympic facilities, and, the environmental impact. Some are concerned about the actual sustainability of the games. So concerned about pollution and waste and the carbon footprint of the event. Now, the government would say that they're doing their due diligence. There's an organization committee making efforts to engage with local communities, seeking input, addressing concerns through the public, through community meetings. And the goal, or they say the goal, is to leave a positive legacy, such as converting Olympic venues into community facilities that promote sports among the youth. It feels, from what I'm reading, like the youth is a big focus for these games. And that definitely has been communicated, the legacy aspect of this, to gain support. So the overall sentiment of Parisians is really a blend of enthusiasm and apprehension. While there's excitement about the global spotlight and the opportunity for them to showcase their beautiful culture, there is concern about the disruption to daily life, the cost, the pollution, etc. Now, as far as a breakdown of the different events, the athletics are going to be taking place at the Stade de France in Saint-Denis. The swimming venue is the La Défense Arena. That's in Nanterre. The gymnastics is at Bercy Arena, the Accor Hotels Arena, and basketball, just still so weird to me. Basketball will be taking place at the Arena Paris Sud, Porte de Versailles. So soccer, football will be taking place at various stadiums across France, including the Parc des Princes in Paris, the Stade Vélodrome in Marseille, and the Groupama Stadium in Lyon. Tennis is taking place at the Roland Garros in the Bois de Boulogne. So that's a big forest on the edge of the city. And the cycling will be taking place on a track. Track cycling will be taking place at the Vélodrome National. Cycling on the road will be taking place in various locations with routes passing through Parisian landmarks. So that's going to be lots of fun if you're someone that tunes in every year to watch the Tour de France, so you can see glimpses of the city. I think the Olympics are going to be a great way for those of you who are planning your trip to see bits and pieces of the city. Fencing is my favorite. That's a sport I would love to try. Will be taking place at the Grand Palais. That sounds super sexy. And all the equestrian events, as I said, are taking place at the Château de Versailles. Very fitting, don't you think? Surfing will be taking place in Tahiti, which is super cool. And then we have the new sports like skateboarding, surfing, sport climbing, breakdancing taking place as well. I'll put those locations in the show notes of this episode because there are so more. There's volleyball, there's badminton, there's hockey, there's golf. There's too many more to list off. But if I can find a link for you, I'll be sure to put a link of the Olympics schedule in there for you as well. The Olympic torch journey began in April of 2024, April of this year, beginning in Olympia, Greece. Traditionally, the torch leaves the Temple of Hera, and that lasted in Greece until April 26, followed by a handover ceremony and the torch's then subsequent journey across the Mediterranean. The French relay then began in May 8th in Marseille, and will continue all the way through July 26th, the opening ceremonies. Now, if you are visiting Paris in a couple weeks for the Olympics, hopefully you've made your accommodations a long time ago. Prices and accommodations are going to be very rare. Stay near central Paris, because being in that area is going to make it a little bit easier for you. Staying near major transportation hubs, and consider areas with really good public transportation to get to key venues, allowing yourself extra time for traffic and security. Paris, of course, has an extensive public transportation network, including the metro, the buses, the trams, the RERs, and there are special Olympic routes, and an increased frequency of services is to be expected. When purchasing your metro tickets, I would suggest a Navigo de Couverts pass for unlimited travel. I suggest that one because it's going to allow travel throughout Paris and the entire Île-de-France region. And if you're not going for the Olympics, but you happen to be in Paris over the next few weeks, expect extra security, expect possible delays, especially if you are near one of the Olympic venues. If you want to bypass public transportation, if it's a little too busy, you could use the Vélib, which is the Paris bike sharing system. If you are lucky enough to be attending any of the events, be sure to show up early and be aware of the specific entry requirements and prohibited items. There will be increased security. While you're there, take advantage of visiting the iconic monuments like the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, Notre Dame. It's not open yet, but you definitely can walk around and see it. Montmartre, consider purchasing a Paris museum pass. I will be doing an episode on the different suggestions for visiting as many monuments and museums as possible. The Paris museum pass can be very handy because it's sort of like for my American audience, it's like a Disney park hopper pass. So you can use it at numerous places. And while you're there, why not get out of the hustle and bustle a little bit? Consider a day trip to Versailles, as long as it's not on the day where they're competing, Giverny, and maybe even the Champagne region if you need to get out of the busy city and blow off a little steam. The weather in Paris in July and August is warm, so I would dress light with light, comfortable clothing, carry water if you're worried about staying hydrated, and I always suggest wearing layers in the city because the temperature fluctuations can be pretty great, from being cool in the shade to very, very warm if you're down in the metro or out in the sunshine, so you want to make sure that you're comfortable all day, of course. If you are traveling internationally for the first time, make sure you have a SIM card for your phone so you don't get into any communication problems. And remember that most cafes and restaurants and public areas offer free Wi-Fi. In the show notes of this episode, I will put links to the official Paris 2024 website, the Paris Tourism Office, and Transport for Paris, the RATP website, which is an excellent resource if you'd like to check on metro lines and make sure that they're all up and running and there are no delays. So that is a brief look at the Paris Olympics, everything you need to know about how the community feels, how to navigate your way, have a great time if you're going, watch it on TV. If you're not going, it's going to be a fantastic way for you to see some of the city and get excited about your next trip, whether that's with me on one of my Paris with Angela trips right here. You can visit ParisianFarmGirl.com/Paris with Angela. I have been online for about the last 20 years as Parisian Farm Girl. I have a YouTube channel under that name, an Instagram feed, a website, and that's where you will find all French-inspired living. Twice a year, I take followers from that platform to tour Paris with me. If you would like to come, there are spaces for 2025. So visit ParisianFarmGirl.com/Paris with Angela. I will put all these links and more in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Paris with Angela, the podcast for Paris lovers and trip planners. I will see you all again very soon. À bientôt.